Hey everyone, it's Jamie and Christine
Hello.
from Iowa Diabetes. We are here to talk about healthy food swaps for your pantry. Christine, before we get started, what's the most used item in your pantry?
I would say the most used item in my pantry is probably spaghetti sauce.
Okay,
To
I
be
get that.
honest.
Yeah. Me, cereal. And I know it's kind of in the refrigerator after I open it, ketchup.
Yeah. Oh, my kid loves ketchup. He would eat ketchup just by itself if I let him.
Yeah,
Which
scoop it
I
up.
do not because it's so gross.
So today we are going to be identifying some of those pantry staples that can help you maybe swap out simple changes to create healthier options, and then read through some different nutrition labels and evaluate those live with you guys. At any point, stop us if you have questions. If you're watching this later, go ahead and put those questions in. We'll either type up an answer or we actually may do a video live or kind of pre-taped and answer that for you as well.
Sounds good.
So to get us started, we do have a quick poll for you. Eating healthy foods is more expensive. True or false?
I get this a lot.
I do too.
From my patients. I can't afford to eat healthy.
Yeah. So guys, put this in the comment.
What do you think it is? True
what you think
or
it
false?
is.
Or maybe a little bit of both, right?
Right.
In between.
And here, I'll tell you, I get it a lot. I actually do a teaching activity. I teach at Drake, one of the nutrition courses there, and I make them create a healthy meal plan for a family, and I make them spend $30 a day for a family of 3.
That's a great activity.
It can be done. It's hard work. It can be done. I would say this is definitely false. But there are certain products that you do have to watch out for that have been labeled as healthy and are a little bit on the more expensive side.
Right.
So just because something's labeled as healthy doesn't mean it is. So I think we'll work through a bunch of those options today.
We're going to show you guys today really how to read a label, what to look for. So when you're deciding if something's healthy or not, you really know how to make that decision.
Awesome. So we have a bunch of items all kind of packed from our pantries, and we've got the big reveal. Christine, you go ahead and grab one.
Okay. I'm going to grab the first one for the bread, cottage bread. I'm not going to lie, my kids like this one.
I like that one.
It is delicious. And let's look at some things on here. You know, you have a couple grams of added sugar. You have 17 grams of carb. Not a lot of fiber, though. Only about a gram of fiber.
Yeah.
And then about 90 calories per slice. So let's see if there's a healthier option in your bag here.
So what we have on here is our 22 whole grain bread. I like this one. Looking at the label, first looking here, it's whole grain. As I'm looking at the label, Christine, whole grain versus white bread, what's the difference?
Well, whole grain one has that fiber in it, some of the other nutrients, your vitamins, your minerals. So it's going to slow down absorption of carbs. It's going to feed our gut critters, and it's going to give us a lot more nutrients. And if we get nutrients in our diet, that's going to help us feel fuller sooner.
Yeah. And it's really all about that fiber and about especially if you've got diabetes, how fast is that sugar absorbing? Right. So this whole grain is going to slow down because your body just takes longer to digest it. Other things on this one, I'm looking at total carbohydrates, 12 grams versus the 17.
Right. That's a big difference right there.
And I do like to look at total carbs, not just added sugars. So that's the line that I'm looking at on here.
Right.
And on this one, dietary fiber is only about 2 grams, which is a little bit low for what I would think a whole grain bread would be.
Right.
But those are kind of 2 components that I'm looking at.
This one does have some flax seeds and other seeds in it. So that can be good for some of your healthy fats, your omega fats, which you know helps to increase that HDL cholesterol. And remember, you know, some of those whole grains and fibers also prevent absorption of cholesterol from our food.
Yeah.
So that can be helpful too.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see what else we got.
Drum roll. This is a good one. Everybody uses this one. Butter. We've got some different butter options. So this is just your classic, your basic salted sweet cream. I use this one all the time in my baking because it makes my baking taste amazing. What are the things that I'm looking at on a butter? Yes, I'm looking at the calories. But the big thing with butter, because it's coming from animals and milk, is the saturated fats.
Right. Why do we care about what is saturated fat? Why do we care about that?
Saturated fat is the type of fat that can lead to increases in cholesterol and heart disease. So we do want to limit that to less than 10% of our total calories a day. That's really complicated math to look at, but the good thing on looking at this is if you look at the percentage, so on our screen, Lily, if you want to highlight over, maybe put your mouse over where that total percentage would be. On the butter, it's about 35% of saturated fat. I like to use, if I'm not going to use an oil, I like to use something like this, which cuts the butter with an olive oil. What that does is it includes more polyunsaturated fats, ones that are going to be a little bit more liquid based at room temperature. And if it's liquid based at room temperature, it's not going to clog our arteries.
Exactly. And that's the big thing there is we want to try to reduce cloggage of those arteries.
Yep.
Which is what, and remember, this is only for 100 calories for a tablespoon. A tablespoon, that's not a whole lot. So that's one thing to look at too is how much is the serving size on this? Because if you're putting a couple tablespoons, you've added a ton of calories to your meal just by adding a little bit of butter.
Right. We've got a comment from Connie. Connie, thanks for coming in. I think your comment and question is about wheat bread. I think breads are tricky. Just plain wheat bread sometimes is no better than white bread.
Yeah.
What you really want to look for is the whole grain wheat bread. And sometimes 100% wheat bread.
Right.
So you do want to look for those two things on that label. And again, really look at the nutrition label, compare it to a white bread to see if it's truly better in terms of total carbohydrates and that fiber content.
Exactly. All right. And another option would be like a margarine. Once again, more liquefied fat, so less likely to clog your arteries, less saturated fat.
So I do a lot of baking kind of with those. But when I'm actually cooking, and I think you do this too, we switch to an oil. And what's your favorite oil?
You know, when we're talking about cooking, a lot of times I just omit the oil completely and I'll use like a natural applesauce or a yogurt or something like that instead of the actual oil, because you're still going to get the moistness of your cake or whatever you're working with, your cookies, but a lot less of that saturated fat. But if I'm going to look at oils as far as like an olive oil, we have some choices here.
Yes.
And with cooking and roasting vegetables or spraying something in the pan, making hash browns, I like to use the spray oil because it has 0 calories, no saturated fat, and compared to the typical olive oil, which has about 120 calories and about 2 grams of saturated fat, which is obviously a lot lower than the butter that we just talked about.
Yes.
But if I'm looking at doing little swaps to lower the calorie intake daily, we talked before, you know, if you can reduce your calories by about 500 a day by doing little swaps, that's going to help with weight loss in a healthy manner.
Absolutely.
And this is one easy swap to omit quite a bit of calories, but still get that flavor.
But you still get the flavor. And especially if you're maybe coating the pan, a lot less calories if you're doing this.
Exactly.
Love that suggestion. And I know we've covered that one before. Yeah. Keep the questions coming if you guys are on. And again, if you're on later, let us know what your questions are and we'll respond to them.
We got a lot more bags to reveal here.
We have so many bags here, guys.
We might have overdid it. We don't know, but
okay. We'll this one I get questions about all the time.
Okay.
I eat rice. Is rice healthy, or what is a healthy version of rice?
Right.
So this one's, again, a little bit tricky because I put rice kind of on a spectrum. So you've got your white rice, which we have here, and we have our brown rice. So similar to the whole grain that we talked about, white and brown, this one's going to have more of the casing on the outside, so it's going to be harder to break down.
Right.
Similar amount of carbs. If I'm looking at the labels, 39 on each. And then
4 grams of protein, 4 grams of protein. But you know what the difference is on this is the nutrients.
Yes.
Your minerals, your copper, your zinc, your magnesium, your thiamine. So, and this one doesn't have any of that listed.
0.
So is that the difference with the whole grain, that casing that you're talking about?
Absolutely. That casing on there it does make it a little bit rougher, a little bit chewier.
Mm-hmm.
But I think depending on the way you cook it, you can still make it taste very, very good.
I like to cook my rice in chicken broth.
That's exactly what I do. Yep. Now, what's even a better option than that? Because still 39 grams of total carbs.
Right, and that's only for half a cup. So
That's
about a cup
lot.
cooked. Mm-hmm.
Just our recommendation is usually a meal should be about 45 to 60 grams of carbs. So you took out most your carbs in a meal just with a half a cup of rice.
And for some patients, they like to go even a little bit lower than that if they have weight loss goals and so forth.
Yeah. So some other options we've got like a quinoa, which is an ancient type grain. Again, whole grain similar to the brown rice. And it's going to have a whole lot of those nutritious nutrients in it as well. And then to lower.
And this one has 29 grams of carbs versus, so it's about 10 grams less carbs.
Yeah. And to go even further and cut the grams of carbs even more and cut the calories, we've got cauliflower rice. So I think I've tried this before and I've just kind of thrown this in the microwave, didn't do too much, just added it to my plate and struggled to eat it. So what I have
done the same. So what I recommend with my patients is, same thing with the cauliflower rice. I'll cook that in chicken broth. But let's say I'm going to use it in like a stir fry. I'll use a large amount of cauliflower rice, but I'll still use a little bit of rice. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still significantly reducing my calories, but now I have the texture of the rice. I'm mixing it with a stir fry with other vegetables and some chicken. And then it's actually really good. And then you can have it for leftovers as a meal prep. So that's personally how I like to use my cauliflower rice is I kind of swap it out with a little bit of regular rice and then a lot of cauliflower rice. It's hardly any calories, like 20 calories for 60 calories for this whole bag. Yeah. I mean, that's hardly anything.
Yeah. I have not done that with my rice. I will say I've done that with my mashed cauliflower.
Yeah.
So mashed cauliflower, mix it with potatoes, and that cuts out your carbs and calories with those mashed potatoes.
Yeah, you don't have to go all or nothing. You can mix things together and have a really good balance.
Yeah, I love that idea. Okay, next one.
And I have no idea what's in all these bags, like what order.
What order it's coming in.
It's kind of like a little like food Christmas.
This is an easy meal to make. I've made it in my house so many times.
Oh yeah,
spaghetti. So again, I'm going to give you regular spaghetti.
Okay, there we go.
And then you've got your whole wheat option. See, there's a theme.
Okay, what else we got in there? I think there's some other
We've
other
got
fun
some
things.
other ones in here too, but they actually make noodles from other types of vegetables instead of just wheat. Mm-hmm. So we've got the chickpea options made from lentils in different shapes. And then really, really healthy. And I've made these, and I've never had the frozen type, but I've made these from just straight zucchinis as well. So you've got your zoodle option, which is zucchini noodles.
And is there a spaghetti squash one hiding in there?
Ooh, I missed it.
I personally like this one. The spaghetti squash, I think, is a good option. So I think noodles can be tricky.
They can.
Because, you have your thin spaghetti, but it's enriched.
Yeah.
So they're putting back in all of those vitamins and minerals that you essentially stripped from taking away that whole grain.
Yeah.
So, this one has 42 grams of carbs, 40 grams of carbs in the whole wheat.
And what's your serving size on that?
Well, it says a half an inch circle dry.
Yeah,
so that's not much, right?
Yeah, and when it's cooked, you're looking at cooked spaghetti, about a cup. Mm-hmm. So a little bit more than what my hand is. I know when I started cooking for myself in college, it was definitely more than a cup that I would put on my plate.
The main thing, though, with like your chickpea pasta, and then this one is your lentil pasta, a big difference here because calories about the same, carbs about the same, but one big difference is protein.
Yeah.
These veggie options have a ton more protein. And remember, when we're talking about our food and getting fuller, eating more protein is going to help make you fuller sooner. So you might get fuller sooner with this extra protein if you have a cup of these ones versus a cup of the whole grain or the regular pasta.
Yes. And with the protein, remember we did that metabolism, how to increase your metabolism show. Protein's going to do that.
Right.
So this is going to help get that metabolism up after you eat a meal because your body's taking longer to digest it.
Exactly. So another option, once again, you could do some of the cooked pasta, you know, like your chickpea pasta, and you can mix that with some of your veggie options. And so then you're still reducing your calories, you're getting your protein, you're getting your nutrients. So that would also be another great way of mixing those two together.
I like that.
All right, what else we got?
These are easy. I will tell you, these are easy to cook.
Yeah, they are really easy. Don't overcook them though, then they get mushy. That's
my
advice.
Next one. Oh. Everybody's favorite ingredient. I think I've caught my kids eating this straight out of the pantry. Sugar.
What's that spoonful of sugar?
Spoonful of sugar. They love that song.
I'm sure. What kid doesn't?
Right? I had to explain what it actually meant to the kids. Okay, sugar. We all know, right? Straight sugar, carbs. How many nutrients are in that?
I see none.
0 nutrients.
I see 0 nutrients in this.
There's going to be 0 nutrients in my healthy option. The difference with my healthy option is 0 calories and 0 total carbs. So what I have here, it actually was introduced to us by one of our special guests that has been on this show before, Chef Robert. His Truvia Honestly Sweet. You can get it in a pack right about this size, and it's sugar that you can cook with, bake with, just like our cane sugar. And it will
this
not
would be good
increase.
For weights, though.
Yes, it would. Let's do a movement Monday with one of those.
The best way to utilize your package of sugar.
Okay, so your kids get home from school and they're starving, right? What do they always want?
Chips.
Chippies. And I don't know if you guys are like me. Whenever I open one of these, I always get disappointed by the amount of chips that I actually can eat. So my serving size is usually like 10 chips, and it's over 100 calories.
Saturated fat on here, your carbs, a lot of sugar.
Sodium.
That's the big one on these. Really, 200 milligrams. So that's a ton of sodium. How much does this one have? 190, so still a lot.
Still a lot. Here's a better option. Skinny pop. Popcorn.
150 calories versus 80 calories. That's a big difference.
80 calories on this. Plus, there's way more pieces. And so it's more satisfying to actually eat an individual piece. And it's more than just 10 chips moving to my mouth. Still actually, this one's not bad on sodium. I was going to say popcorn, you usually have to watch the sodium amount. But this version has only about 40 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually.
Which is really surprising to me. I love this stuff. I actually sit down and eat this stuff a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely a good option. There's another option here. This is one of my favorites, the Harvest Snacks. Once again, you're adding your protein. So this has 5 grams of protein per serving. So once again, when you're hungry and you're eating something, you're wanting to feel fuller sooner. It does have some of the nutrients like your potassium and your iron because it's actually some peas. And then it has 16 grams of carbs. So it's a little higher, but it has 4 grams of actual fiber.
Yeah.
So I like this 130 calories versus
again,
150.
And you get
22.
22 pieces. Still
which is quite a few compared to like 10 chips.
Yeah.
So, and then you make up a good point, serving size.
Serving size.
Because a lot of these will be you think, oh, this is low in calories. And you're like, oh, it's 5 crackers.
Yeah.
It's like nothing.
And it's like, I just had 15. Okay,
Yeah,
now I have to multiply.
So look at serving sizes because sometimes that can be tricky when it's low calorie. It's actually like little food.
I'll have you bring up the chips here too.
Okay, so here are some carrot chips. And this is going to be the lowest in calories. You're going to have your fiber. You have your nutrients. So I like to make like a basil hummus. So I'll use these a lot instead of crackers. And I'll use that as my chip.
Is that the green stuff you eat?
Yes. That's the green stuff.
I work too much next to her.
Yeah, so I thought, I was like, is that a giant thing of guac? I'm like, nope, actually it's some basil hummus I made from scratch. But I use this in there and some celery. So then you're burning some calories too because of that fiber. So It's also a good option.
Okay. What are good breakfast options that patients always like to ask us about? What's a good type of yogurt?
Oh, yes, yogurt.
Yogurt. So this is your traditional. This is what I grew up eating. You probably grew up eating.
Lots of Yoplait.
Lots of Yoplait. 140 calories. Not too bad on my saturated fats because it's probably using a low-fat milk to make it. A lot of added sugars. 13 grams of added sugars. That's a lot. So that means they took that sugar bag, just started spoonfulling them in there. And total grams of carbs is 27.
And a lot of people actually don't realize that yogurt's considered a carb because it's the number one ingredient. So, 27 grams of carbs and 19 grams of added sugar. That's a lot. And 5 grams of protein, which is okay, but let's look at some of our other options.
I've got another option. I use these as a kid treat. Again, these I think you have to be careful with. On this one, if you get the Greek yogurt type, I think it's a good a better option.
Better option, yeah.
With the protein, you have to watch what's the added sugar kind of in the flips.
In the flips, yeah. That's the part my kids like.
Yeah. I think I've caught my daughter eating only the small side.
You're like, that kind of makes the purpose. But once again, kind of high in carbs and high in calories.
Now we've got another option here. We've got a Chobani zero sugar. So on this one, they skipped the added sugar. And I think to make it sweet, they may have used a little bit of artificial sweetener. But
I think they actually use the monk fruit as one of them on there. So there's no actually artificial sweeteners in that one, which is what I kind of like. Yeah, it's a plain sugar substitute.
What I like in terms of calorie content, if you guys look at that picture, 140 versus 60.
That's a huge difference.
Less than half the amount of calories.
And what's the protein on that one?
Let's look. The protein on here is 11 grams, which for a yogurt is very, very good.
So that's almost double
what's in that.
Yeah.
And that's because
actually it is more than double. This is 5. So
and it's not saying outright that this is a Greek yogurt, but Chobani usually is more of a Greek style yogurt.
Right.
Which is going to have more of that protein in there.
So really great afternoon snack. A lot of my patients will eat lunch and they'll just wait till dinner. And by the time they hit dinner, they're starving.
And then you make bad choices.
Exactly. So this is a really good afternoon snack option or breakfast option, but to help curb those hungers so that way you're not as hungry for dinner and you're, once again, making better choices.
I also like this and maybe combined with fruit as a dessert option.
I agree.
So
100%.
I've heard so many patients say, I grew up my entire life having dessert. I need something sweet to end my dinner with. Something with this.
Great option.
Add a little bit of fruit in there. You get your sweetness with probably half the calories and sugar of a cookie.
Yeah. Or ice cream or whatever else you're going to choose.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We're getting towards the end here of our bags.
I know they don't. Not as many are appearing.
Milk.
We've got milk. Again, another one that surprises a lot of people about milk. And milk has about 15 grams of carbs per serving. And a serving is 8 ounces. So on this one, I've got your more unhealthy version. I've got 2% milk. So it's a lower or a reduced fat compared to whole milk. But when I compare it to skim milk or 1%, there's still more fat in it.
Right.
And fat is a heavy, heavy source of calories.
Yeah. So how many calories is in a cup of that milk?
130.
So that's quite a bit. So you add that to your cereal, whatever your coffee, whatever you're adding it to, and that adds up.
It adds up really fast. Whereas if you could use a skim or if you could use...
Yeah, this is one of my personal favorites. It's the Silk Almond Less Sugar. I've tried the one that's a 30 calorie that doesn't have the added sugar with vanilla. I don't like it. And with food, healthy foods, if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it.
Find something
you actually like.
Yep.
My kids like this as well, but this is only 45 calories per serving, only 7 grams of carbs, less added sugar, no saturated fat. So definitely a healthier option if you like, the almond milks. This brand and kind in particular, I think is actually pretty darn good.
I mean, in terms of 45 grams of carbs, if you're just
Or calories.
If you're just adding it to like cereal
Mhm.
or something and maybe not drinking it straight out, very, very good option.
Right? Exactly.
I used to use it when I made smoothies, and then I got away from making smoothies.
Because then you just made your smoothie hundreds of calories.
Right.
Because you're usually using at least a cup of milk.
Okay.
All right. What else do we got?
What's a good option? I don't like drinking water all the time, so I'm gonna drink soda.
Oh man.
I think people don't realize how many grams of carbs are in regular soda.
So, with our work, we look at CGM data a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can always tell on the CGM when someone's drinking either soda or sugary Gatorades all day, because the sugar on the numbers on the CGM are just like this high all day long. The whole time. They don't go down. Whether you give yourself insulin, doesn't matter. They just don't go down.
65 grams of carbs. Again, a meal should be 45 to 60 for most women. It can be 60 to 75 for most men. And again, it can also be lower than that depending on your goals. So this is a meal of sugar.
I don't like getting my calories from liquids that way. I'd rather eat something.
And I think of soda on a spectrum. Water, best, right? Water, best. This, worst.
Right. And then you have the caffeine, which also we know can spike your blood sugars.
Yeah. In the middle, I would place something like a diet. Yes, it's artificial sugars. There's no really added nutrients or anything in there, but it's still better than 65 grams of carbs right here. Another one in the middle is sparkling water. I think I personally need a little bit of sizzle, need a little flavor in the drink that I like. And so a sparkling water, like what's shown there, 0 calories, again, 0 nutrients, but it has the bubbles that kind of keep my mouth and happy.
All right.
2 more left. Ooh, we've got some good ones. Another pantry essential that my daughter puts on everything.
Oh, yes. Ranch.
This
one is a kicker because, you'll say, oh, I ate a salad. It was so healthy. And then you look at how many calories are in a couple tablespoons of like a dressing.
And we're usually dousing it because it's only 2 tablespoons.
Right. And so it's 120 calories just for the dressing.
Yep.
2 grams of saturated fat, not a lot of carbs, not a lot of sugar, but a lot of calories that you're adding to your food.
So you've got this option.
Yeah. So if you're going to go with like a light ranch, Ken's is my personal favorite. It has 80 calories versus the 120, a lot less fat. It actually tastes good. That's the thing. Remember, we're talking about if you don't like how it tastes, you're not going to eat it. Yep. This one actually tastes good. But even lower than this, you can get in the refrigerator section. And this is also one of my favorites. Bolt House has a ton of dressings, and this only has 35 calories and 2 grams of fat. So a lot of times I'll use this to dip with my veggies as well. Do you have another tip as far as with salads on how to use less dressing?
If I'm ordering it from a restaurant, I get the dressing on the side. Where I put it on the side, dip my fork in it, and then I pick up my lettuce and my other vegetables because you tend to use less.
I agree.
And you 100%. Get flavor in every bite with that.
Okay, last one.
Ooh, it's our kids' favorite. Ketchup. I bet. Okay, how much calories are in here, Christine? Calories are not bad.
No, like 20?
Yep.
Okay.
How many grams of carbs?
I'm going to guess 15, 20.
In a tablespoon, 5.
Okay.
But I will tell you, most people are putting 2 to 3 to 4 tablespoons on, like my hamburger.
So one thing, though, about regular ketchup is, this is the kicker, is the high fructose corn syrup.
Yes.
Why don't we like that?
Yeah.
Well, high fructose corn syrup, your body can't utilize the sugar. So it doesn't help signal the brain that you're full. And the body either converts it directly to fat or to stored sugar. And we don't want either of those, right?
No, we don't. The other thing is sodium. I would say sodium amount in there is usually pretty high as well.
Yeah, let's see what it is.
I have found this in the grocery store as well.
We're laughing because both of our ketchups in our fridge that our kids use are like empty.
I have one that I just got out the new one. I cheated. We've got Simply ketchup, no artificial. So this is made with real ingredients, not with the high fructose corn syrup. Really good option to eliminate that.
Yep. So if I'm going to let my kids have ketchup, they taste very similar. I might as well give them a healthier option.
I can't tell the difference.
No, I can't tell the difference either. And the cost is about equivalent as well. So
yeah. So as we've been going through this, we've reviewed so much. Go back, check them out. But also let us know what your questions are and let us know if there's something that we maybe didn't touch, because these were what we use every single day. These are common in our pantries and our cooking, but that might not be the case for you. So let us know what you've got.
Oh, I like this one. This is a tricky one.
I know. So which of these is better? Let us know if you guys are able to. Which of those, based on the nutrition labels, is actually, I'll say, healthier. So we'll give you a couple moments.
We'll have you look at those and see what you think. All right. So Raisin Bran. Raisins are like supposed to be healthy, right? Bran is supposed to be healthy.
Guess what? A raisin is basically a dried fruit snack. So straight sugar.
Yeah, a ton of sugar in raisins.
Yeah. So let's look at the calories. Total calories on the Raisin Bran, 250. That's not everything.
Yeah, with the milk.
With the milk. That's not everything. When we look at the Lucky Charms, we go to 190. So if I'm looking straight calories and the serving size is the same, it's the Lucky Charms.
Right.
Now let's go down and let's look at our total grams of carbs.
We may have to get a little closer here because
I don't have my glasses.
Neither of us have our glasses on right now.
So 50 some for the Raisin Bran.
Yeah, versus like 30.
Versus 30. So you have less than about half on the Lucky Charms.
Let's look at the fiber, because that's where the bran kind of gets you, right? Like that's where it's like, oh, I'm bran, I'm fiber, I'm whole grain.
We're at
7 versus 2. Okay, so the Raisin Bran wins with the fiber. But as far as calories, added sugar, it's sad to see that Lucky Charms might be better.
It's better in terms of some of that. I know. It's really tricky when you're looking at cereal. And that's why I really don't like to recommend cereal too much as a breakfast option. Or if you are, really limiting your serving size and adding on a source of protein if you are going to have that, so that you can stay full longer. Otherwise the cereal's up and out of your body. You're hungry in 2 hours, starving, looking for something else.
Magic Spoon is a brand that has less sugar and carbs, a little bit more protein. Get that online. So that's an option with cereals, but simpler is better as far as that goes. Your shredded wheat, your Kix, your Cheerios, real simple ingredients if you're going to go with the cereals.
Yeah. We've hit about a half an hour, so we're a little bit over. We've got a few more slides, but we're going to skip some of those. The quiz question for you, I think we've hit on all of these. What are the important things to look at on a nutrition label? We've got calories, serving size, total carbs,
fiber, nutrients,
sodium, and saturated fats. I think serving size is most important, but honestly, you've got to look at all of them.
Right, exactly.
Let us know again if there's something that you use that you've found in your daily cooking that you've already swapped out, because one of our listeners might want to see that.
Exactly.
Put that nutrition label, put that picture right in the comments, and help us spread the word.
We hope this was helpful. And if you have any other further questions, just comment below. You guys have a great day.
Bye, guys.